I want to talk about forgiveness because that is such an important part of being able to survive any sort of trauma. Forgiveness comes from accepting what's happened, being able to process it, being able to understand why it happened, what the motivations were for the perpetrator, and to understand how it never was the victim's fault. And once these feelings of shame, of guilt, of fear are dealt with and are talked about and are thought about, it becomes much easier for someone to be able to forgive themselves for what happened. Of course, it's much easier said than done, and to say this to somebody who has survived sexual abuse is often met with resistance because it is a very, very difficult thing to do, and people have carried on sometimes the feelings that result from abuse for most of their lives. And the poison that they're holding within themselves eats at them every single day, and it's really, really difficult to say to somebody who's 40, who experienced it when he was 5, that, enough already, you've, had this for 30 years, time surely must have healed. And for most people it doesn't. It makes it much worse because they're not able to express it, because they don't have somebody to say something to, or because they just feel very simply that it was their fault. At this point, it becomes really, really important to be able to open up to somebody who they trust and to be able to talk about it, or even if that is not an option, to look at everything from a very detached perspective, look inwards, maybe write it out or spend some time by yourself and think about everything that's happened and understand that you were in that position because it was an unfortunate play of circumstance, not because it was anybody's fault. And the person who was involved in the crime didn't do it because they knew it was you. They did it because they could have done it to anyone, regardless of who the victim is. So it's very important to know it's not because of you, and that person would have done it to anybody, and to be able to forgive yourself for it and to not feel like I did something wrong, or it was my fault, or if I was somewhere else things would have been different. That is not the case. Regardless of where you are, it could happen to anyone, and just accepting that is a huge step forward towards feeling better about yourself.